Thank you for staying with us. You're still watching The Breakfast on Plus TV Africa. Cooking gas prices surge, forcing Nigerians to adopt harsh measures. The price of cooking gas in Nigeria continues to rise sharply, with the cost of refilling a 5 kg cylinder increasing by 7.69% in April to 7,885.60 kobo. The year-on-year jump stands at 20.92%, further worsening the financial strain on households already battling with inflation. For larger families using 12.5 kg cylinders, well, it exceeds about 20,000 naira. And the impact is uneven across the country, with south-south states like Rivers and Akwa Ibom recording the highest prices, while the north-central states like Niger and Plateau paying the lowest. The shift has forced many Nigerian households to adopt alternatives like firewood and charcoal, a move experts warn is both unhealthy and environmentally harmful. Despite the government's ban on LPG exports in 2024, to stabilize the prices, affordability remains a major concern. Families now face hard choices, and many, like caterers and youth corps members, are rationing gas use or switching to cold meals as cooking becomes increasingly unaffordable. Joining us to discuss this is Kingsley Jeremiah. He's the editor, Energy Abuja Deputy Bureau Chief at The Guardian. Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, and thank you for having me on the program today.
Good morning.
So let's look at some numbers. Now, to buy a 5 kg cylinder, to refill your gas cylinder of 5 kg is over 7,000 naira. The 12.5 kg is over 20,000 naira. And we know that the minimum wage still stands at 70,000 naira. So imagine if you have to cook before you buy your food, before you pay for transportation, before you even do anything, you're bringing out a whole chunk of 20,000 naira to refill your gas cylinder in a Nigerian household right now. How does this make you feel? Like for you as a person, fine, maybe you might not be cooking as much, but hearing this, how does that make you feel?
Everybody cooks.
Everybody has to eat, but yeah.
So it's something bad in the sense that as Nigerians, we are already burdened with a lot of costs going up, from electricity down to the cost of transportation. I mean, the petroleum products you buy in the market, from premium motor spirit then to diesel, the cost is going up very high, and then the cost of electricity is also going up very high. So what that means is that the cost of energy for us as a country continue to go up very high. It puts a burden on wherever we earn a salary, and this cut across every aspect of the society. For those who are earning the minimum wage and those who are possibly in the medium class and upper class, we are currently burdened by the cost of energy. Gas is one of those options, and you can also see that not just the common Nigerians, some so to say rich persons are also complaining, from electricity down to the cost of PMS as well as the cost of gas. So wherever you see an increase in the cost of energy for us as a citizen at this time, it is going to put a lot of pressure. It has been putting pressure and would most likely get things worse for a lot of us. It's getting it worse for me, and so I can imagine what it is for people who are in the lower level of the society.
Well, we don't know. The government, on the one hand, is saying that we should go clean and green, and we shouldn't be doing a lot of other things, and that means we should preserve our forests as well. And now this is happening. How will this affect the hope or the work of the government, or what they're telling us to do, energy-wise, environment-wise, and all that? Because people may resort to firewood.
Yeah, people already resort to firewood.
Or charcoal. All these will result in cutting down more trees and all that. So how will it impact on our ecosystem and so many other things that the government is trying to prevent?
You see, the worrisome part of this situation is the fact that we are an oil-producing country, and not just an oil-producing country, we have more gas than we have oil. So it is very painful that we can produce enough gas to feed homes. That is something very sad, not just in terms of LPG, but also in terms of gas to power our home. So this is something really sad. we're also talking about this at a time where the government has a decade of gas policy. The essence of the decade of gas policy is to in gas output. But situations where you see that we have been finding it difficult to ensure that we increase oil production, because the bulk of what we have in terms of gas also come from associated feeds. Associated feed are gas that you produce alongside with oil. So if you have low production of oil, you most likely have low production of gas, and that is what you see currently playing out. So the target for government in terms of increasing domestic gas utilization is to help conserve the environment one way or the other. And how important is that? The rate of deforestation in Nigeria, especially for people using biomass, is very high. And not just on the environment, also in terms of human life. A lot of women spend hours trying to go get firewood from the farm, from the different places they are possibly meant to use to cook and then to heat their home. So in this kind of situation, a lot of man-hour would have been lost. You're also going to see most young ladies who should be in school, they will be affected because they have to possibly go get firewood. If you're talking about the situation in places like Abuja or Lagos, it is a bit understandable. But if you're in a place like Zamfara, Sokoto, and other northern states where it is a bit difficult to pump gas into and the prices of gas is a bit higher, and then coupled with the fact that a lot of them are burdened by poverty and burdened by the cost of the rise you see in every other thing, including the food item, you will understand better how critical this is. The rate of deforestation also affects more the northern part of the country. So the more you see that the price of gas LPG is going up, the more you're going to see more people resorting to firewood. And a lot of people are already doing that. This is going to reverse whatever progress we're trying to make in terms of conserving the environment. Is going to revert to whatever things you hear the government talk about in terms of cleaner energy, and then the targets at which we are looking at driving domestic gas utilization will be reversed. So it's something very painful that will affect on the long run the environment and also create a level of climate crisis, particularly for those of us who are in the northern part of the country.
I can even only imagine the potential health risk, for the people who are going to be using charcoal or whatnot. Fine, we're talking about the ecosystem, we're talking about the environment, and deforestation, of course, is not what we want, but even the hazard that it would pose to the people. But let's look at the market dynamics for a bit, because, in some states they pay lower, other states they pay higher. Walk us through that. What has even caused the increase in cooking gas becoming this high?
Now, so we import a level of what we see in terms of LPG locally. If I get the figure correctly, our current local production of LPG should be something in the region of 40 to 50%. And then we import the rest of the 50% from the US, Algeria, and other African countries. So this is vulnerable to whatever shock you see with the foreign exchange market. It is also possible that the level of demand could also be increasing that. I mentioned to you earlier that our oil production has been a little bit low, and what that means is that when you have lower oil production, the volume of what you get in the domestic domain for LPG is also going to reduce. So if you find that reduce, it means that you're most likely going to import more, and this is going to increase the price one way or the other.
Well, but is there a fundamental reason why we should even be at this point right now? What is it that is making us not to be able to get enough gas into the society that will serve the whole of Nigeria? Is it one of those things that the present administration is trying to correct by the so many policies that they're endorsing the president for? Or what is the challenge? What are we not doing right, or what can we do better?
So fundamentally, over the years, we have prioritized the production of crude oil against gas. And over the time, the gas we have produced has been flared. The level of it has been re-injected into oil wells so that we can drill, and then a level of it is being harnessed for the use at home. So what you see currently is that the incentive to produce gas is very low for most oil producers. So most oil producers do not want to bother themselves around prioritizing the production of gas. So gas does not run like crude oil. You need to pipe gas. So for whatever feed you have, you need to have created an infrastructure that can help you extract that gas. We've seen a level of stuff that's happened in recent times in terms of the gas flare commercialization program. I was in one of the facility somewhere around Kwale in Delta State. Most of the gas that is flare has been collected by a third party brought in through the gas flare commercialization policy. If you see this kind of initiative, and then government provide a level of incentive, we most likely drive that to some extent. But we are not producing enough gas as we should produce, because we are not producing enough oil as we should produce. If we find situation where the government is creating a bid that's specifically targeted as a gas feed and not an oil feed, it's going to create a level of incentive and increase the level of production you see. So when you have a gas feed, that all of the intention that the producer or the operator has is to go extract for gas, he would have already has a plan on how to harness that gas and bring it out. But most of the feed we currently have are awarded on the basis of extracting for oil, and when we accidentally come across the gas, for most operators, it makes more sense for them to possibly flare or to re-inject the gas into the ground than for them to pipe the gas, because it costs them a whole lot. The Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission came up with an approach that says that for whatever feed you have, you must have a plan for what you need to do with the gas. For most operators, it still makes more sense, more economic sense for them to re-inject into the ground for their drilling, and also to find a way to possibly flare the gas and pay some penalty than to create all of the infrastructure that you need to pipe the gas. Gas, you can't hold gas. You need to create a series of pipelines that can help you pull them together. So government possibly needs to come up with more incentive that can encourage these people to create infrastructure for gas monetization.
Clearly, this is an energy crisis, even if we're not going to see it as that. But what do you think the government needs to be doing? Maybe they've started doing it, we don't know, or what they need to be doing to cope with this crisis at the moment?
We need to, at all costs, increase our oil production. The more we increase our production, we're going to find more gas to use locally. The NLNG has been struggling. NLNG is the highest producer of liquefied petroleum gas for the domestic market. Over time, they have seriously been struggling with not just gas production, but struggling with theft. There are people who are vandalizing the pipeline that take gas to NLNG. Government needs to find a way to secure oil facility within the Niger Delta, and particularly now for NLNG that gives the level of LPG we use locally, and also exports a level of gas across the country where we earn a level of dividends. So protecting the pipeline, increasing oil production will help in some ways. I think at some point government has removed VAT on gas. I don't know why that is not really profitable. I think that the Nigerian Mainstream Downstream Petroleum Authority, NNDPRA, also need to up their game in terms of regulating the gas space, and also the Federal Consumer Complaint Commission also need to live up to their expectation. The bulk of what you see in terms of the gas price also relate to the prices, and that is why the prices, the logistic of moving it from one state to another. That is why you see that the prices could be different in a place like Zamfara, Kano than what you see in Lagos. So the CNG option that have been provided for articulated vehicle, government possibly need to find a way to strengthen it so that more people can also find CNG to move the gas across board. If you have some of these calculation done very well and strengthen the policy around gas flare commercialization program, we came up with about I think 41 feed that has been commercialized. There are a number of other ones that's about 2 years ago. The number of other ones that the NUPRC possibly need to work around and then approve so that more people, more operators can move into that space. The more they move into the space, the more we find gas locally, and we won't rely on what is coming from outside of the country. It will also push most of what we do on the volatility of the FS markets. That will help in some ways.
I don't even know what to say because I know that there are people who were just struggling to get into the business of using gas, especially in the villages and all that, and there are no provisions for them. Before you can get a cylinder and load it for usage, you have to travel far, a very far place to go and get that. So when it finishes, like gas has an evil spirit that it always finishes at the time that you do not expect, you know, that's what happens. So a lot of people were just trying to get into the culture of using gas and all that, and this has happened. But beyond just gas, maybe there are alternatives for us, because like Rume said, it's an energy crisis that we may not want to acknowledge. But what are the alternatives to Nigerians? What are the alternatives that are available to Nigerians now?
I didn't get that question right. You mean the options that are available outside of gas?
Yeah.
Yeah. What are the alternatives that are available? Is there any option for Nigerians?
You see, sitting in Lagos, you won't understand the depth of the problem. For most people within the northern states, they can't even find the firewood to make their food.
Wow.
You won't understand how deep that is. They have to struggle to find the firewood to heat their food, and that is something very, very critical. And for some of these guys, they have to go as far as possible. I mean, I was told at some point that some of them are finding alternative. There is a clean cooking stove that can help reduce the volume of charcoal they burn and still get their targets. Some of them are adopting that option. I think that is being supported by the UN in some northern states. I also know that some of them are turning animal dung into some sort of fire. I mean,
fuel.
Get energy and burn wherever it needs to burn. That is helping in some way. Electricity would have been another option, but if you're under Band A, you wouldn't want to adopt that kind of option in wherever you do. So one way or the other, people will still find ways to rely on charcoal largely, but if you have to rely, kerosene could be another option. And you know what the price of kerosene is currently at the market. It's also not really favorable. And this leaves most consumer with very limited option. The best thing government can do is to still find a way to make gas cheaper. Making it cheaper is going to help other sectors of the economy, particularly in terms of the environment. All of the targets they have had with energy transition, cleaner environment can happen best if they find a way to make cooking gas cheaper for people. Not just the cooking gas itself. Some people can't even afford buying cylinder. I'm aware that the current administration is trying to work around the policy that will make cylinder free for people. The previous administration did a lot around that, trying to introduce a micro distribution scheme for cylinder. All you need to do is to go there, pick cylinder, so you don't bother about the cost of buying the cylinder. That can help a lot of people, because there are so many people today that want to transition to gas, but they can't even buy the cylinder themselves. And the cylinder also gets expired, which causes another level of problem that needs awareness. A lot of persons are running from gas because of the dangers they see around gas. But the cylinder is the primary issue around what you see with the explosion. Most cylinders across home are already expired, and then they are still being used. If you create a cylinder system in such a way that you take a crate of Coke to the retailer, pick up another crate and come to use at home. So all you need to do is just take your cylinder somewhere you already have, pick a new cylinder, use at home and take it back. So government take ownership of this cylinder. It makes more sense for people. It also reduces the level of cost that some people will naturally have, and then help us to push gas to the rural area. If you have most of these small micro reselling outlets in the rural area, people can easily pick it up. You can easily also transport this gas to them instead of looking for another retailer who needs a truck to transport all of the gas into a place and they go to buy. So they can pick up the cylinder, take to their home. When they are done with it, they return it back, and then they don't outrightly own the cylinder, but they can easily pick it up from the government and use. It also helps the government to easily recycle the outdated cylinder and then reduce the level of disaster you find in terms of gas explosion in homes.
The only thing I see there is that they have to create a 2 kg cylinders, because nowadays what people do is get yourself 1 kg or 2
and
kg.
just buy what you need at the moment.
What you need at the moment. They can't
honestly, I remember growing up and we had to use kerosene, and before gas came, and this is where we are now, knowing that we might not even be able to afford gas. Is quite sad, quite unfortunate, but I think the government has a whole lot to do at the moment. Like you said, we need to start producing more gas, and even if we cannot, I think we need to start to look for other alternatives and ensure that, you know, people have as much purchasing power to buy this. And if it's going to be over 20,000 naira for a 12 kg cylinder, then that means people should be able to earn more to be able to afford this. Anyways, this is how much we can take on the show right now. I want to say thank you so much for coming, Kingsley. It's always a pleasure having you. Thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you for having me on the program.
Yes.
Have a wonderful day.
Can I enjoy the day?
Yes. All right, so I'm speaking with Kingsley Jeremiah, is the editor, Energy Abuja Deputy Bureau Chief, The Guardian, and we've just been looking at the fact that cooking gas prices has surged, and Nigerians now have some harsh realities to face. Anyways, this is how much we can take on the show at the moment. Thank you so much for having the breakfast with us. My name is Rume Paulson.
Perhaps that's why we couldn't get ram to eat. People couldn't cook it on Friday. Well, my name is Nyangul Agaji. Have a wonderful day.
Good morning.